follow up on that. If British troops are in Ukraine keeping the peace and get attacked by Russia, will you come to their aid?
If the British people are in Ukraine and they get attacked.
If British soldiers in Ukraine.
You know, I've always found about the British, they don't need much help. They can take care of themselves very well.
That sounds like
you know what? No, it sounds like it's evasive, but it's not evasive. You know, the British have been incredible soldiers, incredible military, and they can take care of themselves. But if they need help, I'll always...
Keir Starmer's biggest mistake wasn't mismanaging the economy, but underestimating Nigel Farage. What if, in his desperate attempt to silence Farage, he triggered a political firestorm that spiralled out of his control?
You have a man from Europe, I don't know if he's here, I saw him backstage. What he did was, and what he is doing is sort of what we did a few years ago. He's doing a great job, he's always been my friend for some reason. He liked me, I liked him, and he's shaking it up pretty good over there. He was the big winner of the last election in the UK, and he's a very spectacular man, very highly respected, Nigel Farage.
What if Donald Trump, the US president himself, just turned this into an international battle that the Labour Party never saw coming? The British Prime Minister thought he could brush off Farage with a few dismissive words, but now he's facing a crisis bigger than he ever imagined.
I'm sure the Prime Minister and the whole House would wish to congratulate Donald Trump on his landslide victory last week. Is that
Hold on. I will hear the question. Nigel.
Thank you. But within a couple of days we'd learned of a third assassination attempt. Charges have been laid, and behind it are Iran's Revolutionary Guards. Has the time not come, Prime Minister, to prescribe what is so obviously a terrorist organisation, and in doing so, not just do the right thing, but maybe mend some fences between this government and the incoming presidency of Donald Trump's, given that the whole of his
Now the backlash is growing, and Trump has just stepped in to deliver a knockout blow that could change everything. It all began with a statement made by Keir Starmer in an interview.
If we don't show a path to the future, others will fill that void. In fact, they already are. A dangerous right-wing politics, even here in Scotland, that will say they are the ones who can tilt politics towards the interests of working people, even as their proposals do precisely the opposite. A politics...
He made a bold move attacking Nigel Farage and Reform UK, calling them dangerous extremists and unfit to lead Britain. Starmer dismissed them as nothing more than political opportunists who were misleading the public with false promises.
Right, well, you've just come back from America, so let's talk about Donald Trump. How does Britain benefit, do you think, from a second Trump presidency?
Well, number one, I mean, he's actually a pro-British president, which Joe Biden very clearly wasn't. He's got a huge soft spot for this country. And that gives us some advantages. I mean, obviously, there's, in terms of trade, we are still the biggest foreign investor.
However, what Starmer didn't expect was the reaction that followed his bold move. His words did not weaken Farage, and Reform UK instead, they made him stronger. The party supporters doubled down, seeing Starmer's attack as proof that the political establishment was scared.
Nigel Farage didn't even turn up to the debate in Parliament today. Nigel Farage is fawning over Putin. That's not patriotism. That is not what working people need. What I've done is take the duty of Prime Minister seriously, which is to ensure that our citizens are safe and secure, and this decision is made to ensure that they are safe and secure. It is a decision intended to ensure that we fight for the peace that we've enjoyed for the last 80 years, so that for generations to come they can enjoy the freedoms that we have enjoyed. So I've taken this with...
Recent polls show that Starmer has been walking a tightrope for months as he wants to present Labour as the party of the working class. But there's a problem. Working class voters are turning to Reform UK in massive numbers.
Do you think that he sounded like he was running scared of reform? Because initially he absolutely did not take them seriously at all, and now it seems the penny is dropping.
Well, I wouldn't say he's running scared, but I would say that it's very clear from this speech and from the letter that he wrote to cabinet ministers recently, which is a very interesting letter, underreported, I think. It's very clear from that he regards reform as the main threat to Labour at the next election. He's not interested in Kemi Badenoch and the Tory party. He thinks that reform are coming after Labour votes, and that they have to fight back against reform, and they're prepared to do that.
People who are tired of empty promises and career politicians who don't understand their struggles. Farage, on the other hand, speaks their language. He tells it like it is, and that's why he's gaining traction. And then there's the issue of workers' rights. Starmer tried to paint Farage as a threat to workers, accusing him of opposing crucial employment protections. But the reality is, many small business owners and workers themselves are starting to push back against Labour's policies.
Don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around.
But is anyone surprised? Since Starmer and Labour took over, businesses have been facing higher taxes, tighter regulations and endless red tape. Employers are struggling to stay afloat, and instead of creating new jobs, they're cutting positions to survive. So that's why Farage's message is resonating with them.
So the EU reset, I guess it really began last night. Keir Starmer heads off to Brussels for dinner with the other European leaders. The choice of location was fascinating. Palais d'Egmont, which is where they never have dinners there. They nearly always have them in the council building. Why did they choose that building? Well, there was symbolism here, because that is where Edward Heath went to sign the accession treaty in 1972. I think that was a bit of a game and an attempt to ever so slightly humiliate the British Prime Minister. We got a raft of conclusions, one of which was that we're going to deepen industrial collaboration. We're clearly going to get closer to EU rules. We may even allow the ECJ some oversight. But a lot of what was discussed last night will become clearer at a summit.
He's promising to slash unnecessary regulations, cut business taxes and put British workers first. But Starmer refused to acknowledge this shift. Instead, he doubled down, warning that Reform UK would be a disaster for Britain.
President, did our Prime Minister persuade you not to put tariffs on the UK? And if I may, Prime Minister, do you think that Vladimir Putin is a man who will keep his word? Thanks.
He tried. He was working hard, I'll tell you that. He earned whatever the hell they pay him over there. But he tried. I think there's a very good chance that in the case of these two great friendly countries, I think we could very well end up with a real trade deal where the tariffs wouldn't be necessary. We'll see, but he earned whatever they pay him. He earned today. He was working hard at lunch,
But that's when things started to unravel for him, because his words didn't just spark a response from Farage, they caught the attention of Donald Trump. And when Trump speaks, the world listens. We all know Donald Trump doesn't hold back, and when he heard Keir Starmer attacking Nigel Farage, he wasted no time in firing back. In a scathing response, Trump called Starmer a weak leader who doesn't understand the real struggles of the British people. He accused Starmer of being part of the same failing political elite that has driven the UK into crisis, skyrocketing energy bills, uncontrolled immigration, and policies that hurt working-class families. And when Trump speaks, his words send shockwaves through the political world. Trump's message was clear. He stands with Farage in his eyes. Nigel Farage isn't just a politician, he's a warrior fighting against the establishment, a man who refuses to back down in the face of political attacks. And that's exactly why Trump and Farage have remained close allies for years.
the leader of the UK Reform Party, who, by the way, did really well in that last election. I've been his friend for a long time, and I wasn't sure, am I supposed to be his friend or not? But it never mattered to me if he did well or not. I always liked him, but it's easier to like him when he got the kind of votes he got. He really took it.
Trump reminded everyone that Farage was one of the first to support his presidential run, and now it's Trump's turn to return the favor. But Trump didn't stop there. He took direct aim at Starmer's leadership, calling him a puppet for globalist interests. He accused him of prioritizing woke policies over real solutions. pandering to Brussels and the European Union instead of standing up for British sovereignty. Trump's message resonated with millions of people who feel left behind by politicians like Starmer, who talk about progress but never deliver real change.
I got to say, 4 years ago, I was honoured to come to America to bring the Brexit message, the message that you can beat the establishment. And that is what Donald Trump did. He beat the pollsters, he beat the media, he beat all the predictions. And here's the worst bit, they've never forgiven him for it. They've never, ever forgiven him. They have spent 4 years trying to delegitimise him. 4 years.
The timing couldn't have been worse for Labour. The party was already struggling to defend its policies, especially on immigration. Trump seized on this issue, saying Starmer was weak on border control and had no plan to stop the wave of illegal migration that was overwhelming the UK. He pointed to the US-Mexico border crisis under Biden, warning that Britain was heading in the same direction under Starmer's leadership, and the timing couldn't have been worse for Labour. The party was already struggling to defend its economic policies and other social problems.
And what about Elon?
Well,
and the closeness, that Alice described, the potential, the conflict of interest.
Yeah, he's very interested in British politics.
Why is he so interested?
The reason he trolls Keir Starmer is because Elon believes in free speech, and Keir Starmer locks people up who say nasty things on Facebook. So that's
Jackie, do you want to answer that?
No,
he doesn't.
No. Well, the justice system does. We've got two-tier Keir, we've got two-tier...
Farage, of course, wasted no time in responding. He welcomed Trump's support and doubled down on his attacks against Labour. He called out Starmer's hypocrisy, reminding the public that he once campaigned to stop Brexit, only to later claim he would respect the will of the people. Farage framed himself as the only true defender of British independence, and with Trump backing him, his message carried even more weight. But here's where things get interesting. Starmer and his allies tried to dismiss Trump's remarks, calling him an outsider who shouldn't interfere in British politics. However, that argument didn't work, because this isn't just about the UK. This is about a global movement and the rise of populism, the fight against the establishment and the battle between traditional politics and a new wave of nationalist leaders. Trump's involvement has now turned this from a domestic dispute into an international headline, and with Labour already facing internal divisions and backlash over its policies, Trump's attack has only added more fuel to the fire.
My starting point on this is to remind everyone that over 80,000 people lose their lives every year because of smoking. That's a preventable death. It's a huge burden on the NHS, and of course it's a burden on the taxpayer. So yes, we are going to take decisions in this space. More details will be revealed, but this is a preventable series of deaths, and we've got...
Can Starmer survive this level of pressure? If history has taught us anything, it's that when Trump picks a fight, he doesn't back down. And right now, Starmer is in his sights. The instant Trump stepped in, everything changed, and what started as just another political jab from Starmer has now exploded into a major controversy, one that Labour is struggling to contain. Also, inside the party, frustration is mounting and party strategists are scrambling to control the narrative. But the damage has already been done.
Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th...
Starmer's attack on Farage was supposed to rally support from the left, but it has instead exposed deep divisions within Labour's base, as many of its traditional voters, especially those in working-class communities, don't see Farage as the enemy. Instead, they see him as a man who speaks out against the establishment, against the same political class that has ignored their struggles for years.
So the EU reset, I guess it really began last night. Keir Starmer heads off to Brussels for dinner with the other European leaders. The choice of location was fascinating. Palais d'Egmont, which is where they never have dinners there. They nearly always have them in the council building. Why did they choose that building? Well, there was symbolism here, because that is where Edward Heath went to sign the accession treaty in 1972. I think that was a bit of a game and an attempt to ever so slightly humiliate the British Prime Minister. We got a raft of conclusions, one of which was that we're going to deepen industrial collaboration. We're clearly going to get closer to EU rules. We may even allow the ECJ some oversight. But a lot of what was discussed last night will become clearer at a summit.
And now, with Trump's endorsement, Farage's message is more powerful than ever. If you enjoyed this political discussion, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating political content.